They may have taken one day off. Mark, the next one.
Thank you.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. Do we need to say we came back in open session? Sure. We're back in open session at 5:34, and we're ready to go into item number 2. And we have a discussion on installation of smart meters by CPS Energy. And do we have thank you. And I do want to say something real quickly, if I could. And based on the numerous comments received from many citizens, we're going to have a letter delivered to CPS asking for a 12-month delay on the installation of smart meters with the request that CPS reply within 30 days of our request. This will allow the city time to evaluate the situation, and hopefully this will alleviate the need for some people to speak on the evening asking us to do so. But anyway, you're free to ask whatever you want. Okay, let's see. Council, do you have any comments first on this, or would you like to, would your pleasure be to hear the citizens first? Okay, great. The first person that signed up to speak tonight was Russell Seal. And I think everyone, just because we have a lot of people to speak and we have a lot of other items on the agenda, if you try to keep the comments around 3 minutes, but if you're finishing up a thought, let's let you finish that thought, but if you try to keep to 3 minutes, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you for bringing up this very important topic. My name is Russell Seal, and I, as Mr. Bernard Shaw from TECQ would be called the weirdo environmentalist. I've been a Sierra Club member since 1988 and served many positions, including on the Lone Star chapter of the executive committee for the Sierra Club. I'm also a pharmacist here in San Antonio. I am an immunizer and to give vaccines. Vaccines is a parallel topic to the smart meters and the EMF radiation from that we have a large amount of people in our population that are scared of vaccines. And I have seen the incidence of whooping cough because people are no longer letting their children get vaccinated. And it's a public health risk that because we have some folks out there saying vaccines are possibly dangerous, that we shouldn't give them, and they're putting our population at risk, and we're losing our herd immunity. Also, with regards to energy, as energy production, we know and we have lots of environmental and health risk from the production of energy. The biggest problem is with our coal-fired power plants and the emissions and our air quality here in San Antonio. In San Antonio, we're a nitrogen oxide limited on what's called a factor causing our ozone problem. We're just on the tip of non-attainment with the Clean Air Act. From the cars we drive to from the emissions from out of the area, including North Texas, Houston, Mexico, and now the Eagle Ford, and on ourselves. What we're driving in our vehicles and the emissions that from our power plants that are caused because of the energy usage in our homes. The energy usage from our homes and what we call demand management is one of the biggest factors we have. The elephant in the room is power production from CPS Energy. And we are really thankful with CPS Energy that they're choosing to, instead of building new power plants, to shut down what I call the Dirty Billy power plant by 2018. And I applaud CPS Energy for doing that. Real health consequences, not fringe science. We know these coal-fired power plants have health effects on our community and have them now. Back to the smart meters. The smart meters of various, we have advocated as the Sierra Club for demand management for over a decade. CPS has listened to us and brought instead of just a company totally focused on supply management, they have changed their focus and talking about demand management, getting our homes more efficient, getting using the utility as much smarter system, so they don't have to fire up more power plants in the meantime. The smart meters are a very crucial component of that, and I beg of you not to put off this program, because this is causing real health consequences right now by not implementing this immediately. And we need to go ahead and go forward with this. The World Health Organization in this handout has conducted and researched 25,000 research articles that have not found a health effect from the radiation that we're exposed to continually every day from the sun, from our cell phones and everything else. So please read the World Health Organizations, and the Sierra Club does support the smart meter programs, and then we can implement them. Thank you.
There you go.
I wish I could say
I sent you all a copy of what I'm going to say, and to be brief. One is, I don't agree with the WHO. What I've been reading from WHO is they aren't approving these smart meters like you're saying. Good evening. I am back to address you again. I did last time. I am not a scientist, and I'm not a doctor. But I think there are significant issues out there concerning health and safety and also to our property, our privacy, as well as our homes. We know fires have been called. We know a fire started with a Landis gear meter. CPS said last time, oh, we've never had a fire. Well, look it up on the internet. Do Landis gear and fire, and you'll show that in Pennsylvania in February there was a fire. 14 people put out of their homes. The installers of these units only get 2 weeks of training. If these are installed incorrectly, that's when there are problems. I don't think I want to trust my home to a 2-week trained installer. It's not just the meters in your home that's the problem. It's the number of meters on the block. And the fact that these meters put out up to 140,000 pulses a day. Now think of that, and then think of yourself with your home next to the router that's going to collect all these pulses to send them to CPS. If you're a pregnant woman, if you're a person with a pacemaker, if you're a person with brain problems, I think I have a few, but you know, this can make it worse. When I use the term opt-out, it suddenly occurs to me, I never opted in. CPS didn't ask me for this. I'm stuck with whatever CPS wants to do. I have one. They did give me a choice. I can either accept a digital meter, or I can do without electricity in the middle of Alamo Heights. I don't want to do without electricity. I'm forced to accept something I do not want. The OMR meter actually has almost as many emissions as the AMI meter, the smart meter that they're putting in. Smart meter is not a good term for it. There's nothing smart about it. It doesn't save electricity. What it does allow to happen, CPS gets to control how much electricity you can use. It has nothing to do with saving electricity, except that supply can be cut off. If that's what the people from Sierra Club want, let's hope they're a minority. CPS knows we're dependent on them, and they have no intention of backing off on this. They are using the bully pulpit to force us to accept something we don't want. If we were a deregulated community, the state of Texas would have already taken care of us. For some reason, the city-owned utilities were not considered when legislation was passed where we could opt out. And remember, we never opted in. There are questions about electricity costing more after the smart meters are installed. And I find that very interesting. If it's supposed to save us money, then that's it. In summary, CPS is telling me to use our smart meter at your own, well, they're telling me to use their smart meter at my risk and to go without electricity. By the way, the PUC does not require CPS to put this in, so why are they forcing us? Bottom line, more revenue. That's all. Thank you.
Susan Strauss. Your alarm's not very loud.
Hello, Mayor and Council. I really appreciate your listening to everybody on this. I think there are factions of the Sierra Club in California that are turning against smart meters. As Brian said, 175,000 smart meters had to be removed in Oregon and Canada this summer due to house fires. In February, a Landis & Gear brand smart meter, the brand that they're wanting to bring here, caused a huge apartment blaze, displacing 14 families in Pennsylvania. A 61-year-old woman in Reno was the latest victim of a deadly smart meter fire, and the Attorney General is now investigating that. Sparks Fire Chief said meter fires start on the outside of the house and won't be picked up by the indoor smoke detector. It can burn a long time in the attic or walls, and occupants may not even be aware the house is on fire. A woman in Georgia had a smart meter house fire and was billed $11,000 for damages. Harvard-trained doctors, Kaiser Permanente, senior research scientist, the American Academy of Environmental Medicine, the Bioinitiative Report of 2012, which is 29 doctors in 10 different countries, all agree that radio frequency radiation from smart meters is dangerous and causes biological effects like cancer. These are doctors and scientists who have studied the connection between power lines, cell towers, and cancer. When you have cancer clusters occurring near cell towers, which decreases property values. Smart meters require collectors and routers, which are mounted in neighborhoods to connect the grid. And these collectors and routers put out radio frequency radiation additionally. We already have enough cancer from cell phones and Wi-Fi and other sources. It's not just your smart meter, it's the cumulative exposure from the grid 24/7 that is causing people to get so sick. You can shut off a cell phone, but the smart meter and the grid is always on. Babies, children, the elderly, people who are chronically ill, people with pacemakers, apartment and condo dwellers living on the other side of the wall from banks of smart meters are all at risk. If the Bioinitiative Report of 2012 is correct, we will see an explosion of childhood leukemia and other cancers with smart meters. An opt-out program does not protect us, since the range for electromagnetic frequencies caused by one smart meter router is 5 square miles, and the average square mile coverage for the smart meter collector is 125 square miles. This is blanketing whole areas with radio frequency radiation, according to the Canadian government certified energy professional who I spoke with today, who is trying to help cities like us avoid smart meters before the damage happens. Damage that has been proven in cities like Sacramento, where they rushed in to install, and now they have a removal program. They are now allowing Sacramento analog meters. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Deborah Mason.
Good evening, Mayor Cooper and council members. As you know by now, my name is Deborah Nason, and for the last several council meetings, I have spoken to you as a concerned resident of Alamo Heights about my profound uneasiness with CPS's imminent installation of the so-called smart meters and their associated dangers to me and my family. Tonight, however, I am speaking to you not just on behalf of myself, but also as Vice President of the Alamo Heights Neighborhood Association, on behalf of all of our residents and neighbors, because this is beyond the concerns of a few individuals. The health, safety, and security of our entire community is at risk. And what are the alternatives? CPS tells us that if we don't want these radiation pulsing meters, we can simply opt out. But not really, CPS. First of all, why are we forced to opt out of something we never chose to opt into to begin with, as Brian said? and with an associated fee of $175 and $20 a month surcharge. This is outrageous. And while the Texas State Legislature is in the process of reviewing this, the California legislature has banned these fees altogether. Second, opting out to CPS means your safe, dependable analog meter is gone no matter what. If you don't want a smart meter, the analog meter will be replaced by another digital meter, which still poses health risks by emanating radiation on an ongoing basis, adding to the cumulative effect of radiation exposure from and to your neighbors. So, Mayor and Council, we respectfully support your decision for a 12-month moratorium on the installation of any meters. This will allow for additional data gathering and review. Many of us, however, feel there's already substantial data to support an outright ban of these meters, as has been done in a number of communities, including parts of Canada and in Portland, among others. In Ordinance Number 1856, the franchise agreement between CPS and the City of Alamo Heights, it is stipulated that CPS must provide safe, reliable, and economical service to the community. How does a radiation-emitting device, which has had numerous documented spontaneous fire events and costs you $175 plus $20 a month to not even have it, constitute delivery of safe, reliable, and economic device? Thank you very much for your review and action on this important topic.
Thank you, Deborah. One point I do want to make that I do know for a fact, when you receive the information that you're going to have your meter installed, you're going to get a phone call first, then you're going to get a package. Inside that package is going to be a form that you can send back to CPS to get a form, I think that's how it goes, that you can fill out to opt out. And you're right, you won't have your same meter, it will be the digital meter. But as long as you opt out before your meter is installed, you will not pay that $175. You will pay the $20, but you do not have to pay the $175. If the meter is installed in your house because you didn't opt out before it was installed, you will have to pay the $175 to have it removed. Is that correct? Just to make sure.
So Rudy or Burford, you want to comment on that?
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that.
I have one already and I didn't ask for it. So do I get my $175 back that I didn't give them?
That I wouldn't know. I just know the process for you don't have to pay that fee if you opt out prior to it being installed in.
Where are those coming out, those notices?
I don't know that either. That's the only part I do know for sure. Let's go down the list and then we'll get to other questions. Okay, the next person who signed up was Glenn Jones. Okay, thank you, Glenn. Dr. Wesser?
At the risk of repetition, most important not only for council but for CPS and Mr. Moreno here tonight to hear these. Mayor Cooper and council, the serious hazards associated with digital smart meters, otherwise known as radiation pulse meters, are abundantly documented in the literature. This month, 2 Nevada fire chiefs asked the state of Nebraska's Public Utility Commission to investigate the safety of Nevada's residential radiation pulse meters, saying that they believe these meters are responsible for a string of recent fires, 9 totally and 1 death. These meters can further erode our right to privacy by making personal activities and habits available for monitoring, control, and distribution. Elsewhere, they led to higher electricity bills. Most distressing to me as a physician are the risks and biomedical effects from the radiation associated with electromagnetic fields generated by these meters and their associated mesh grid structure. their relationship to bone marrow and solid tumor cancers, neuromuscular disorders, cardiac arrhythmias, pacemaker dysfunction, and more are medically of grave concern. Numerous communities in this country, including Texas, cities such as Austin, Lubbock, Brady, as well as in Canada, have chosen either to outright ban radiation pulse meters or remove and replace them with analog meters or issue a moratorium on their installation, and I was very happy to hear that proposal going forward tonight. CPS continues to describe the documented hazards of these meters as myths in order to discredit critics. This attitude displays a callous disregard for residents not only of Alamo Heights, but throughout our metropolitan area. CPS misled us with inaccurate information. This is disingenuous and reprehensible. Radiation pulse meters in the grid structure produce dirty electricity, and together with all your neighbors' meters, amplify in the aggregate exposure to potentially harmful radiation. These meters are not green for the environment because only minimal benefits accrue to the consumers when compared to the inherent dangers. I certainly favor caution and prudence and retention of our current analog meters. I reviewed the franchise agreement with CPS in our city, signed in February 2010. Section 1 states specifically that CPS will provide safe, reliable, and economical electric service. I believe that if CPS installs radiation pulse meters, then it has not met the terms or the spirit of the franchise agreement. These meters are not safe, nor is the present opt-out plan economical for consumers who never opted in and are not permitted to retain their existing analog meters. I urge City Council, and I was very happy to hear, I'd say ban radiation pulse meters outright, but certainly to have a 12-month moratorium, as other cities have done, is a start. All for the sake of the public health, security, and safety of our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandy, and let's see, is it Machega? I can.
Mateza.
Okay, good.
Mayor Cooper, City Council, thank you for listening today. I'm a concerned citizen who was part of a 40,000 customer pilot program by CPS, and I learned about this issue only a few months ago at a meeting. I went home, I looked at my meter, and it's not an analog with the spinning dial, it's a plastic pulsing meter. And I called the next day, I called CPS. Over the next few months, over the past few months, I've had several conversations, many conversations with various CPS representatives to try to understand why. I had no knowledge of this pilot program. I was never called, I never got a letter. My neighbors were completely unaware, and there are 40,000 of those people, part of that pilot program, in the area that CPS serves. As a result, I spoke with Raul Flores, customer contact supervisor with Customer Services and Solutions, and Mr. John Leal, who's vice chairman of CPS and member of the West Side Chamber of Commerce. They were both extremely helpful and shed some light on there are a lot of things I still don't understand about the pilot program. Who made the decisions? When were they made? Why were we not notified? Anyway, my daughter is having unexplained headaches. They're increasing in intensity. I have not slept through the night in 3 years, and I'm connecting the dots now. And I think that all the research I've done shows that the radio frequency pulses are directly related to our issues that we're having. We're under doctor's care, but there are no answers. So the things I've learned from CPS, directly from CPS, are that also, in addition to changing out our meters, giving us no choice to have a safe analog meter, they're also going to install devices on our gas meters to remotely get readings from them. Also a radio frequency chip in them, so there will be more radio frequency. I can buy an analog meter online, but CPS will not install it, and they won't allow anyone else to install it. So I feel like I'm stuck. I have a lot of unanswered questions, and I just want the choice to have a safe meter on my home.
Thank you. Sarah?
is Sarah Reedley. I live at 436 Corona, and I swore never to walk in this building again. Here I am. So,
I know you miss us.
I know, and I know how much you miss me. When I first found out about in the email and about the smart meter meeting we were all supposed to go to, I didn't know what the heck a smart meter was. So I got online, and I was surprised to learn that just the week before, 175,000 of them had been recalled in Canada and California. So I did quite a little bit of reading before I got to that CPS meeting. And when I got there, I was not happy with the answer I got. And so I filed a complaint with the Attorney General of the state of Texas, the Consumer Protection Division. And I would urge everybody in the audience to do the same. It doesn't take very much effort. Here's what I said. On their website, CPS, first of all, I said at the meeting, I asked the Landis Gear rep, Thomas Merrick, with Silver Spring, about fires, and he said there were none. Then I told him there were 175,000 recent recalls and fires in Pennsylvania. He said, oh, well, Landis Gear wasn't involved. That was not true. So, on their website, the description of the complaint, on their website, CPS discusses myths about smart meters, and myth number 4 is smart meters are hazardous, increasing the risk of fire and explosion. Fires are not a myth, and they are a documented fact. The Texas Republican Party is concerned, and it is on their 2014 platform, page 25. They say, we oppose the mandated use of smart meters as well as the use of collected data to reduce freedoms of U.S. citizens. Our opposition is based upon security, property damage, energy inefficiencies, privacy, health issues, and the use of smart meters to ration electricity. So, with that, I got on the internet, my friend the Attorney General, and I read what I could do, and they have a division called the Consumer Protection Division, and you can file a complaint, and that's what I did. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Peter Turnbull?
I'll pass.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Bobby Wheeler?
Thank you, City Council and Mayor. I'm Bobby Miller. I live on Broadway. I'm serving as the home base for the Coalition for SafeMeters.org. Our members were brought together out of a mutual concern for the 700,000 residents, plus 40,000 more who are living in the radiation or will be within 3 years from new electric meters. CPS says in their literature they are less safe than many of our appliances, they are safer than many of our appliances, cell phones included. They are saying it's a convenience to us and for the safety of 1,700 meter readers who need to open gates, disturb our pets, to read our meters once a month. With new meters, they read the use of our electricity. We will save them money, which savings are assumed will be passed on to us. The media describes the new meters as smart meters, but CPS is quick to respond, no, they are OMRs. We don't have time to be sent on the wrong trail of trying to figure out which meter is a smart meter and which isn't. CPS is not warning us of the health symptoms experienced by people living in other communities with these radiation-emitting, microwaving, and pulsing meters. CPS is not telling us the reason for the meters to send signals constantly 24/7 when they only read once a month on our electricity use. CPS is not telling us of the fires reported in cities that start by a flare or an explosion at the meter site. CPS is not telling us of the extremely high costs of the infrastructure of reading the meters in a central location. This insight comes from our members who are into computer science. CPS is not telling us of the vulnerability of the system to be hacked and our information leaked to third parties. CPS is not acknowledging that cities, states, and nations are legislating, writing ordinance, and banning the meters that are so smart. And finally, CPS is not telling us that Austin Energy, 75 miles north, is not requiring every resident to have a new meter, but is giving the residents an offering of a new meter if they want one installed. The Coalition for SafeMeters.org is searching for the facts on radiation-emitted meters that pulse 24/7, and we could use your help. I acknowledge that there are those signals everywhere we go, so my personal goal is to share information with all my neighbors because their meters will affect my space and to learn from them. I'm sharing educational videos with them, starting with Take Back Your Power, which can be found on the internet. As a coalition, we are asking that a moratorium be requested, and I really appreciate your act to do that. And so that we can finish our independent research and get that information to our friends at CPS. Thank you.
Marcia Wesson.
Mayor Cooper and council members, I'm concerned about the health consequences of so-called smart meters, which I call radiation pulse meters. Governmental safe standards were set 17 years ago based on one set of experiments in the 80s and applied to a 30-minute exposure to a 6'2" tall man, not pregnant women, not children, not the elderly or those with pacemakers or shunts, such as I have in my head. These old standards measure thermal exposures, protecting us from burns or shock, but not electromagnetic radiation that pulses and spikes several times each minute, 24/7, year after year. Nothing is known about the cumulative effects of such emissions over time. We already face much smaller exposures in our cells and cordless phones, Wi-Fi, microwave ovens, and other home devices, but we choose to turn them on and how long and when to use them, and we choose to turn them off. But opting out is not an option. CPS will replace my reliable, safe analog meter with a digital meter that it says is benign, but in reality is not. Only one of its 2 radio transmitters is turned off. It is extortion to demand an initial fee and then a monthly surcharge in perpetuity for something that I never opted into. I give no consent to CPS plan. No one may trespass into my home without my consent, and the last time I checked, I think we all are still protected under the Constitution of the United States of America. Like exposure to asbestos and secondhand smoke, we will not know consequences immediately. We have powerful corporations telling us, don't worry, don't trust us, we know what's best for our customers, and yet it is us, the consumers, who are really the guinea pigs in this grand experiment. And I don't know about y'all, but when I leave my house, I turn in the summer my air conditioning up so it doesn't go on when I'm gone. And when I wash dishes, I turn my dishwasher on at 11 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night. We can all learn how to do that. I carry a card that I show to the TSA whenever I fly so that I'm not subject to the electromagnetic scan that all passengers must undergo. I am instead personally inspected. I must be diligent when undergoing certain medical procedures and must have my internal device recalibrated after certain medical tests. In return, I get to live a normal, healthy life, thanks to my recent neurosurgery that corrected my condition. So my concern is very personal, I admit that. But I have a communal concern. These CPS meters on nearby homes still can affect me and all of us because of the way they work collectively and cumulatively. And what of our children and our grandchildren? We owe it to future generations to be thoughtful stewards of our world. We need to speak the truth, and we must be able to answer them when they ask about these dangers. We fought for the health, safety, and security of all of us. And thank y'all for what y'all done. I appreciate it very much.
Nancy Woodward.
My name is Nancy Woodard, and I'm the property manager for Lake Chateau Townhomes on Broadway. I'm also a member of the coalition with Bobby Miller. We have 105 homeowners in our complex, and on the 12th of August, we had a meeting with a CPS representative. We were informed at that time we are not able to even opt out of the smart meter. And that is a concern. A lot of people have talked about the fire issue with these meters catching fire. Our property is about 50 years old, and the wiring is old. It's a real concern for a lot of the residents on the property. It's going to be in a more condensed area where our meters are at. It's going to emit a lot more radiation. Where Bobby's unit is, she's got 5 meters on her bedroom wall. These are all issues that I think need to be considered before these things are installed, but we don't even have the choice according to CBS because we're a complex. There's a lot of condominium associations in the city of San Antonio, Alamo Heights, Terrell Hills, Castle Hills. This is just not right. We need to have the option to review these things and have studies done before these things are implemented. My mother's 85 and lives on this complex and just had a heart attack. And I'm concerned for her. If these things are installed, that it could have a serious health effect on her. Thank you.
Thank you. Sylvia Wong.
Mayor and City Council, hello. How are you doing today?
Great.
Great, super. I'm opposed to the smart meters. Actually, back in November of 2011, California started removing their smart meters. So this problem has existed for quite some time. The basic issue is that customers are very unhappy with the smart meters. They are surveillance devices in homes without a search warrant, which is a violation of privacy, fires, explosions, and health issues ranging from nausea, dizziness, heart palpitations, headaches, tinnitus, insomnia, radiation exposure associated with powerful wireless devices that transmit information 6 to 8 per minute constantly have plagued the steadily California counties and cities, and they demand a stop to the smart meter installation. Millions are having issues with the power company selling wireless collected data from their homes via smart meter to third parties. The opt-out proceeding is currently overseen by an administrative law judge at the California Public Utilities Commission. There are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people suffering in their homes from forced smart meter radiation. And Joshua Hart, director of the grassroots organization Stop Smart Meters, is fighting for these people. Communities have the right to obtain analog meters at no extra charge. From what I'm hearing today, we don't even have that option. Is that correct? And then we don't even have the option of buying an analog meter and having it installed ourselves? That's not fair to the citizens in the community. But the other alarming thing is that if these radioactive waves are
exposing a 5 square mile radius, we're only 2.5. That's, I mean, if one of us, let's just take a few of us, gets this, then you're exposing the whole community to this, which is, it's not quite fair when it comes to health issues. Also, I think one of the other things that we need to keep in mind is that our government has spent a lot of time not letting free energy be exposed in our country, and that is coming right around the corner. There's a lot of free energy that's going to be exposed, and people are going to be informed about how it can be installed in cities. It is currently being installed in Morocco, Taiwan, Canada, Alaska. So keep in mind that there is some free energy coming along in the future, very short future. So please vote against this.
Thank you. Julian Hall.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for putting this on the agenda. This is so much appreciated. We have a chance to speak to you about this. I'm Julian Hall, 515 Circle Street. I have a degree in mechanical engineering, and I'm an AVP in information technology, one of the largest credit unions in the country. There are a lot of issues and questions around this, and I want to bring some of the facets of these questions to you. I'm not going to go into every detail of all of them, but I'm going to just go through them all, and I think that what I hope to achieve on this is give you the sense of there is a lot of unknowns here. Privacy questions. We don't know how this data is being treated. There is no statements of exactly how this information is going to be controlled, what levels of information are being accepted, what degree of processing there is on these, and safeguards around them. Installation questions. These have been brought forward already, and there's concerns about the training of the people who are installing them. There's questions out there that give you suspicions around what's going to happen around the billing and the policies that are going to be taken around billing at a later stage based on after these are rolled out and embedded for some time. But I'm going to focus a little bit more on some of the little more technical things. With my background, I think I can bring some clarity and context around some of these questions. These meters are all fed and powered through what we call a switched mode power supply. And this thing is basically trying to take very, very quick samples to convert AC electricity down to DC. These things are known to create a lot of electrical noise. These things then feed into your electricity supply, and this is one of the contributors of dirty electricity. Dirty electricity can stress appliances, and it can cause potentially malfunction or breakage of appliances, potentially worst case fires. These RF meters have enough power that they've got to communicate through walls, through distance, to get to the other meters, to get the information. Well, that's quite a lot of power they have to put out. Now, you know that on planes and in hospitals, they already have certain restrictions on what you can do with these different devices because of these powers. Now, I've looked at the EPRA reports that are out there. I've got a copy of it right here, and I've reviewed it in detail. And I can tell you that it's not adequate to be able to answer the questions that we have. This report is based on looking at 1 meter. 1 meter that's probably brand new and getting calibration. Well, that's okay on 1 meter, but that's not the real world. What we're looking at here is we've got to understand how these meters last over time, because they've got to survive the corrosion over time, heat stresses, cold stresses, humidity, electrical stresses that they're part of as well. And we've got to consider that there's banks of these meters together. I've gone round and I've looked at some of the meters, and I've taken readings of the power that comes out from these things. And I can tell you that in one place I was a little bit surprised that we were about 10 feet away, and through a brick wall that I saw as much radiation coming from outside that wall directly where these meters were beaming that was equivalent to about 1 foot away from when my microwave oven was on, about a 700-watt microwave. So you're going to have your children the other side of that wall? I'm skeptical myself on whether it is. I've got to go with Marcia's point about the guidelines here of what people are basing the safety on, because it's quoting FCC, IEEE, ICARP. These things are based on sustained dosages. There isn't information out there that gives you information to know whether or not we're safe from pulsed bursts of these things over very, very, very long periods of time. And there's severe variation in what's coming out from these devices as well. Looking at all these devices I looked around in Alamo Heights that are already there, there's a wide range of power that's coming out from these things. Why? What are they doing? Why is it so different? And there's a lot of unanswered questions of all of these different areas, and I just do implore you to just take time, pause, let's have a 12-month moratorium at least, and let's do some work on doing a detailed, independent study. And I'm very willing and happy to provide whatever services I can to help you all with analysing or any other information you might need on it. I do appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Hi, John.
So-called smart meters are certainly not smart for Alamo Heights, and indeed they are not safe for anyone in San Antonio. CPS says fires caused by these pulsed radiation meters are myths. Yet a Google search of smart meter fires turns up over 80,000 results. Spark meters might be a better name. CPS would be wise to slow down and stop acting like the big monopoly that it is. Today we spoke with an electrical engineer named Curtis Bennett, who is a world-renowned expert on electromagnetic fields. He testified about spark meters before the Texas Senate and was on the Texas Public Utility Commission's expert panel investigating electromagnetic fields. He warned about smart meters and the associated smart grid. He believes anyone installing them is guilty of reckless endangerment, and he wants CPS to produce documentation from independent, professional engineers that blanket radiation of buildings is safe. He says it is not. Scientific evidence shows that radio frequency microwave radiation will blanket our entire city, even more than already being done so by microwave or cell towers, and that the new frequencies produced by all the connectors and routers that link the spark meters to each other and ultimately to the so-called smart grid will severely impact human health as well as animals. He believes the smart grid, a giant wireless network that connects all the so-called smart meters, is dangerous, even if you opt out, because electromagnetic energy generated by the entire smart grid. Many of you have seen the video of the former director of the Central Intelligence Agency, James Woolsey, saying the smart grid is a, quote, really, really stupid grid. Over the weekend, Council received a copy of testimony to the Texas Public Utility Commission, which included the American Academy of Environmental Medicine. It says many studies demonstrate significant harmful biological effects occur from non-thermal RF exposure. This is a cause and effect between smart meters and adverse health effects. Genetic damage, reproductive defects, neurological degeneration such as Parkinson's, Alzheimer's and Lou Gehrig's disease, immune system dysfunction, memory loss, kidney damage, cancer have all been found. The World Health Organization has classified RF emissions as a Group 2 carcinogen. By installing smart meters, CPS has failed to provide safe electricity to Alamo Heights. I'd like an 18-month moratorium or an outright ban on smart meters, that anyone can opt out of the program at no cost, and that CPS will reinstall our dependable, safe, analog meters at no cost. It makes no sense that we have to opt out of a program we never opted into. Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody's done?
I'm Betty Stone, and I am both a resident and a property owner in Alamo Heights. I have been away from San Antonio for the last several months, and came back to find that there was new to do with the city council. So I have I've done several hours of research, trying to become a little bit better informed. I won't go over the same things that have been gone over and the stress on the health issues, but the 5 main issues that I have identified from my research are health, fire hazard, cost, privacy, and security. And without going again into the health issues, I think that there's a big privacy issue with these smart meters. They can transmit or will transmit every 30 minutes what is going on in a person's house. They can be used to identify which appliances are being utilized. And this seems incredible to me, but I even read that they could tell when you were watching TV or not watching TV and which programs you were watching. Now that seems too far-fetched to me, but nevertheless. I feel that the ability of these smart meters to monitor the activities inside a person's home could really infringe upon our privacy rights here in Alamo Heights and citizens across the country. And I feel, as the young man in the black shirt identified, there are simply too many things that we do not yet know and too many questions that we are not able to answer in an intelligent and informed manner. I would ask the council to please, at the very least, to declare a moratorium on this decision for a year, preferably longer, if they do not, if you all do not arrive at an out-and-out ban. And I thank you so much for letting us come and express our concerns, and thank you for all your good work.
Thank you, Beth. That's everyone who signed up. Did anyone else sign up, or would anyone else like to speak who hadn't had a chance to speak on this issue? Elliot?
I don't want to speak anymore, but I didn't understand your opening announcement. Is this a proposal you're offering or giving to CPS that does not imply that they have accepted this or they have 30 days to respond?
No, we will be sending a letter, and we're going to ask for a response.
So it's a one-sided waiting to hear from CPS. I think people should know that it's not a done deal.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that you're taking a stand. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I am not on your list to speak. I got here late. But I would like to say this. If the fire bell went off of this building, we would all evacuate. And the fire or the proper authorities would check. If the all clear was given, we'd come back in. If it was not given, we would not come back in. What we have are alarm bells going off. Not only, mainly on safety in my mind. I've got a pacemaker, 5 meters on my bedroom wall and 8 feet away. That's 11. I've also got a concern about fire. I've also got a concern about security, but to be honest with you, I think our privacy is gone already. To me, with the alarm bells, until we could get, and we have a learned doctor telling us they're dangerous, that should alert us to stop and get the facts. And so I urge the City Council to consider that. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you so much.
As a young mother who primarily has moved to Alamo Heights just for the purpose of bringing my child to school here. I know that I probably speak on the behalf of many other parents that are probably not able to attend this meeting, but I will say that the general consensus of the reason why most of us are here are for the school district, because we love our kids and we want them to be able to be in Alamo Heights and partake in this. And that being said, the effects of it on children should really be of most alarm to you guys, because the amount of children living in every house, I mean, you've got probably, every 3 houses has a small child, a baby, a small elementary school child living in these homes. We are a very concentrated group of people who have children in this area. It's not as diverse as some other cities do, like given California or Portland, where, you have a big mix of people. Right here in Alamo Heights, we mostly have children. As a mother who's been exposed to many different MRI scans, and I have a very strong history of thyroid cancer in my family, I would like to point out that the World Health Organization was brought up by the Sierra Club gentleman, and he had made the mention that these studies show that there is no evidence that's bringing to light that any of the radio frequencies have been affecting people. But I would like to bring to your attention that 1 of every 2 people in this world, in this country, has cancer. And it's coming from somewhere. Now, I'm not saying that it's coming from our environment, obviously, but this may not be the only cause of it. We live in a very toxic environment. I'm just asking you guys, please, if we can eliminate 1 toxin from our home, I urge you. I have small children.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sarah?
I have one question. Dr. Wessler brought up a very good point about the franchise agreement, that it does say that they have to bring in safe stuff. And if, in fact, CPS turns around and tells y'all that, no, we're going to bring it anyway, we're not going to do a moratorium or whatever, do we have the power, because of the agreement, to tell them they can't do it?
I think, so we talked in executive session, and I think our take is let's go after the moratorium, and during that period, assuming we get it, then we can evaluate the ins and outs of
Absolutely. I'm asking if they say no.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and we're not there yet.
So you don't know?
We just want to know
No,
what our
no.
steps should be.
Yes, ma'am.
Are they going to continue installing the smart meters in Alamo Heights?
I don't know yet. I think they're tired.
Are they installing them now?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Ruth Medellin, and of course we're all concerned citizens. I want everybody that works for CPS to know we appreciate what you guys are doing. And if you were living here and this was going on, so please don't take it personal, because I know I see a lot of stressed faces. We've lived here almost 20 years, and I have to say I'm a mother who raised her daughter here. I now am a grandmother, and I have a husband who's having some health issues, and I really, as we grow older, and Jose's getting ready to have his 74th birthday, I don't want anything that's going to bring his health to the next level if we can make it not happen. So I say that for all of us, whether it's our grandbabies, because yes, we're going to raise them here, and as we grow older and live here for the rest of our lives, if it's modern technology and we choose to bring it, fantastic. But if we have any inkling of thinking that it's going to compromise our health and the future of our community, I'm sorry, it's not a good idea. But thank you, CPS, for understanding and listening too. We want you to know that we realize your position.
Yes, sir.
Sir, my name is Art Gurriel. I'm a 15-year resident here in Alamo Heights. I also work for the San Antonio Fire Department. I'm a division chief over there. I've assisted the city of Alamo Heights on several arson investigations. The Argyle Club was one. And I've assisted the city of Alamo Heights in keeping their bunker gear in compliance. My concern obviously should be to the fire side. And I am concerned about these meters plugged in and the connections being loose in these older homes. But what concerns me more is that a large percentage of these houses have wooden exteriors. And that bothers me. You know, it's getting hot against brick. I mean, not against brick, it's getting hot against wood. That's a concern. But more so of a concern, the transition. I didn't realize that they stuck a meter on my house, and then they stuck a meter on my gas meter as well. And I didn't know until I saw a guy walking around with an antenna. I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Hey, I'm taking meter readings off this thing." And I said, "Weren't you supposed to look at it?" Well, the transition was a nightmare in terms of my bill. I couldn't get the bills right, and I asked for bills and I asked for readings, and I couldn't get it, and I wouldn't get it, and then they sent me a $1,200 bill. I said, I'm not going to pay it. I said, you know, you better cut this thing down in pieces for me, because I was asking you for this. So the efficacy of the readings is what bothers me. At one point, I was instructed, and I did. I took a picture of the reading, and I faxed it to them. I took a picture of my little dials and faxed it to them so they could. So, you know, I would feel comfortable if engineers in Alamo Heights would look at these things, check the readings, check the things. If you told me it was okay, I'd be all right with it. But I'd like an independent study on these things, and I'd like, you know, to take a look. Yeah, the American Cancer Society has a whole page dedicated to smart meters. I don't know about the ill effects, or I don't know about those things. I know my computer is whacked. All my remote controls don't work very well since they put those things up there. But you know, my problem is, of course, with the fire concern, but more so that my bill is right. You know, I had a heck of a time trying to get a bill from them. So, you know, just to say, thank you.
I appreciate it. Ellie?
I feel comfortable commenting here, as you might suspect. I would hope that CPS hears us and pays attention to maybe altering their behavior, at least for the moratorium, and get the data that many people would like to have. But on the other hand, nothing in the franchise agreement, to my eyes, and I respect the legal talent on the council, indicates that council has abrogated their responsibility for the welfare and public health of its citizens, that they cannot just say no or just give up. And I just hope the legal input is such that can clarify that for the citizens to be aware that this is a really important issue in the history of Alamo Heights, as we know.
And I'll keep you posted on what my friend said.
Okay, we have a question over there. Yes, well, what we were doing is we're asking CPS for a 12-month delay of the installation of smart meters with the request that CPS reply within 30 days of our request, and that will allow the city time to evaluate the situation. Susan?
Can I make one little final comment?
Sure.
It won't take long. Thank you.
And you were the only one that stopped at 3 minutes.
If I get two more,
You're
one
so
more.
respectful.
Let Miss Susan talk.
Yeah.
I called CPS a couple of weeks ago, and I asked them, I said, a couple of years ago, one of these kind of smart meters was installed on my house. It's technically a smart meter with one of the signals turned off. It's an Itron digital meter. I did not know it was installed on my house. I must have missed the postcard, because they probably gave me an opt-out. I didn't see it. So it was installed on my house, and I don't like what I'm hearing about those either, and it's way down far from my bedroom. So I'm probably not being affected as much as if it was on the other side of my bedroom wall. But it still produces dirty electricity all over my house, which has health effects. And I asked them what would happen if I hired an electrician to replace that meter with an analog meter. And the lady on customer service said I would be fined for tampering. I would be fined thousands of dollars. And I said, well, what would happen then if I installed an analog meter and I had it blocked with a very strong meter block that they couldn't break through? And she said, we would have to send a police escort to gain access to our property. And so I said, your property? I said, it's my base, my wiring, my socket, and they say it's their meter. But I mean, still, this has to do, is this the America that you and I grew up in? I don't think so. The utilities are really acting like the monopolies that they are. And in this case, our city has a monopoly, a utility monopoly. Thank you.
Well, we're going to have to move on. Let's take a couple final questions. We have a lot of stuff on the agenda, but I just want to say thank y'all all for coming tonight. We really do appreciate it. Y'all asked for the opportunity to have it on the agenda, and we wanted to give that to you to hear your comments. And we think that it's been very useful tonight for us to hear, for CPS to hear your comments on there. So anyway, let's just have a couple wrap-ups. Yes, ma'am?
One more issue that no one's brought up that I've done a little bit of research on, and from time to time I keep up with current events religiously. But any system that is on a smart grid is extremely easy for hackers to get in, terrorists to take down. And I've read a few news stories about that's what they're setting their sights on, is easy access. And certainly if we were all collectively on a smart grid, that would be an easy task for them, I think.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am?
My name is Francine Manis, and I just wanted to comment that I think it's really tragic that people don't, that we who do not want to get rid of our analog meters can just keep them and let people that want the smart meters opt in. And the other thing is, I think is not right. We're not given a choice. And it seems to me as if what's happening, we're all part of this grand experiment. Well, what will these rays, what will this RF frequency do to everybody? And it's really tragic, because once the damage is done, we're not going to be able to reverse it. Whether it's a health damage, we know we're also losing our Fourth Amendment privacy rights. And not only that, like this lady brought up about the security thing with the terrorism. We know that this country is subject to terrorist attacks every day. We have to be vigilant. So why should we just let our guard down and allow ourselves to be a part of this? We have no backup if anything like that happened. And I appreciate y'all giving the 12-month moratorium. I think it's wonderful. But no one wants to be part of a grand experiment to see what it's going to do to us. It's not fair.
Well, thank everybody. We really appreciate it. We got to get back to this thing now. But thank everyone for coming in. Thank you for your comments and thank you for your interest. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for putting up with us. I wouldn't be on the council. Hello.